Hello again, and welcome to Podcast DX, the show that brings you interviews with people just like you, whose lives were forever changed by a medical diagnosis.
I'm Lita.
I'm Ron.
And I'm Jean Marie.
Collectively, we're the hosts of Podcast DX.
Today, we're diving into something that impacts just about everyone, summer health and safety. Whether you're headed to the beach, the playground, or just hanging out in your backyard, summer comes with its own set of health risks and precautions.
Absolutely. It's all fun in the sun until it's not. Let's start with the obvious. Heat. Summer heat can sneak up on you and pose serious health risks, especially for children, older adults, and people with chronic health conditions. Heat exhaustion and heat stroke are no joke.
Right. The signs of heat exhaustion can include dizziness, nausea, headache, muscle cramps, and excessive sweating. And if it escalates to heat stroke, that's a medical emergency. If someone is confused, no longer sweating, or even passes out, call 911 or your emergency services immediately and try to cool them down while waiting for help.
Now let's talk about sunscreen.
Okay.
It's not just about avoiding sunburn, though that's bad enough, but it's also about reducing your risk of skin cancer and premature aging.
Exactly. Choose a broad spectrum sunscreen with at least SPF 30. And don't forget to reapply it every 2 hours or more often if you're swimming or sweating. And yes, cloudy days count too. UV rays go right through the clouds.
And I know I was recently reading that if you are going to an area like Australia, you want to actually buy your sunscreen in Australia because it's formulated for sun exposure in their area, which I guess is far more intense than people expect.
Good travel tip, Jean.
Let's head out to Australia and test it out. And let's not forget about hats, sunglasses, and protective clothing. The more skin you cover, the better. And bonus points if your clothes have UV protection built in.
So I actually thought the hats and sunglasses was, for style.
They
It
can be
is.
stylish and safe.
Yes.
Interesting. That's good to know. Let's move on to hydration. It's amazing how fast dehydration can hit, especially when you're active outdoors. If you're feeling thirsty, guess what? You're
What?
already behind on fluids. Yep.
Well, kids and seniors are especially vulnerable. Carry a refillable water bottle,
A what?
a water bottle, and a little fruit if that makes it more appealing.
With your sunglasses and your stylish hat.
And skip the sugary sodas. They can actually dehydrate you more.
Again, if you're traveling in areas where you're not accustomed to the bacteria in the water, I would recommend using sealed bottled water and skipping the fruit.
And skipping the what?
The fruit.
Okay.
Because if it's grown and washed in that water, then the bacteria is also on that water and you could get sick.
Okay, so this episode is going to be location specific.
Yes.
Got it.
And if you're doing serious exercise or sweating a lot, a drink with electrolytes may be helpful. Just watch the sugar and sodium content in some of those sports drinks.
Guess what?
What?
Summer also means bugs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, some of the bugs bring more than just scratchy, itchy bites.
That's right. Mosquitoes can carry West Nile virus, Zika, and other illnesses. Ticks can transmit Lyme disease and other infections. Use EPA-approved repellents. Look for DEET, D-E-E-T, picaridin, or oil of lemon eucalyptus as ingredients in the products.
And you're not supposed to mix sunscreen and insect repellent. So depending on where you are and what you're going to be doing, sometimes you can pre-treat your clothing with a clothing insect repellent so that you have the coverage against the insects without disturbing the coverage of your sunscreen. And after you're outdoors for a while, especially in wooded or grassy areas, do a thorough tick check. Especially like in crevices, look behind your knees, under your arms, and on your scalp, anywhere that they could crawl in and burrow in without you noticing them.
And don't park underneath a tree.
Well, don't drive down areas in Michigan that you're not familiar with and apparently are home to 10 million ticks.
Yep.
We did a lot of traveling. We went from Australia to Michigan in like 20 seconds.
Oh, yeah. Quick.
So here's something else, too.
Elon said, you could go to any city in the world within an hour. Right now.
Okay, let's get back to reality.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about the sun and protection. Don't forget to protect your pets as well. Make sure you talk to your veterinarian about any flea and tick preventative measures for them.
And
Right.
then also they need to have sun protection
And water.
shaded and water. So sun protection, hydration also matter for your pets. So they should have a protected area to shelter and water. And then also they need to remain cool. So make sure that they have a cool area as well.
What about the stylish sunglasses and hats? And
Oh, yeah. You can get those.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Just checking. So whether it's the playground, biking, or skateboarding, summer is the time for kids to get outside and also get a little wild.
And that means helmets, and elbow and knee pads when appropriate. A properly fitted helmet can be the difference between a close call and a traumatic brain injury.
I was almost going to sing that head and shoulder, knees and toes, because you were kind of going all the safety things.
Okay.
But you didn't cover steel toe shoes, so
Well, no, but you should probably, if you're going to be riding a bike, skateboarding,
not open toe shoes.
Right.
Okay, so now I can sing it.
no, I think we'll
Okay.
just skip it for now.
All right.
People can sing it in their mind. Okay.
It's so funny because, I mean, we're all a little experienced.
Yeah,
with,
we're
with
old.
age. It's
Yeah.
a lot different now, probably the last 10, 20 years than it was when we were growing up.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Anyways, in addition, supervision of children is key, especially when they're playing on the playground. Make sure you are looking for appropriate equipment, surfaces also like mulch or rubber mats to soften any falls. And remember that metal slides can get scorching hot in the sun.
And I think ground metal or ground rubber is a choice for a lot of playgrounds. You want to make sure that that's safe because it could contain some chemicals and things
Oh,
maybe that you don't want.
is wood chips better?
Well, I don't know if they're better, but you also have to make sure that there is a depth to them because otherwise, just
Right.
having a sprinkling doesn't do it.
Sure. Well, let's talk about fireworks.
Okay.
They're beautiful, but they're dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Thousands, not hundreds, thousands of people end up in the ER every summer with burns or injuries from fireworks.
Try to, just leave this to the professionals and watch a public show instead of setting off fireworks at home. And if you do want to use sparklers or small fireworks, never let young children handle them and always have a bucket of water or a hose nearby. And remember that the fireworks can travel and potentially set property, on fire as
Right.
well or start a forest fire. So you don't want to be liable for property damage because you decided to, go a little bit overboard on the fireworks.
And legality.
Let me add one
They're
more
not
thing.
always legal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but let me add one more thing to that, too. Don't mix alcohol with fireworks.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, because...
Shouldn't use mix alcohol with anything.
Well, it's just, I mean, when you get to certain celebrations, for
Right,
example,
right.
like Independence Day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that can just make things much, much more difficult.
We'll forget about alcohol. We'll move on to the big one,
Okay.
Yeah.
water safety.
Absolutely. Whether it's a lake, an ocean, or a backyard pool, the risks are real.
First up, beach
Good.
closures. Sometimes beaches are shut down due to bacteria or toxins in the water and the sand. In Chicago, for example, we've seen beaches closed due to sewer runoff, algae blooms, or even dead birds possibly infected with avian flu.
Avian flu?
Avian flu.
Both of them?
No, just avian.
Okay. And if you're heading to the beach, here are a few must-dos. Make sure that you're washing your hands after playing in the sand because you don't know what animals have been using that same sand as a toilet. And then shower off and rinse your bathing suit also after, you've been in the water. And whenever possible, avoid getting sand or water in any open wounds to prevent infection.
And don't dig a hole so deep that a person could fit in it.
Right, because then it can collapse on them and
Yes.
they could die.
Yes, I'm sure that happens every summer.
Right, and be careful. I guess you have to know, read some background information and check your local area and find out if there are issues because sometimes there'll be a, like in sand dunes, it can collapse.
Yeah, they have sinkholes.
Sinkholes,
Right.
yeah.
Also, the EPA warns that most common illnesses from contaminated water is gastroenteritis, and that can cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, headache, or fever. And other issues associated with that include ear, eye, and throat infections.
Well, let's not forget about algae blooms, also known as cyanobacteria.
Cyanobacteria.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
Cyanobacteria. These can cause skin rashes, sore throat, cough, and even kidney or liver damage if the toxins are ingested. And yes, they can be also deadly to pets.
So again, check, websites for your area and make sure you read any posted signs. Now with translation apps on your phone, even if you're in a country where the language is different than the one that you typically speak and read, you can utilize translation apps to find out what those posted signs at the beach say.
So like when we go to Australia?
Well, I think they do speak an Australian version of English.
Okay.
So
We're good. Okay.
but they might have nomenclature that we are not accustomed to utilizing, so then you could look those terms up. Riptides and undertows are another danger in the water. These are strong currents that can pull swimmers away from shore, and you need to learn how to recognize them. And if you're caught in one, make sure you swim parallel to the shore until you're out of the current, because it's typically a horizontal or a perpendicular line to the beach. So you have to swim across it to get out of that, and then you can swim back. And then also swimming on a beach that has a lifeguard manned or a person attending at the beach as a lifeguard.
Okay.
Another thing I'm going to add to that, too, if at all possible, I know there's a lot of people out there that cannot swim, although they like the water.
Right.
If at all possible, at least try to learn how to float on your back, because that can be a lifesaver. You don't necessarily have to be an Olympic swimmer, but if you can learn to float on your back, that can also help you survive.
Okay, so some basic swimming proficiency can make a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially I guess if you have kids,
And be sure that if you're practicing your floating on the back in a swimming pool where there's no waves, it's going to be a lot different than when you're out in the lake or an
Right.
ocean.
Sure.
So
Be ready for that.
as a dedicated trainer, I would be willing to stand there and splash water up and make waves.
Okay, well,
So
we'll
if
make
one of
sure we
our-
include your phone number so people can call you. And
So if
have,
one of our callers from Australia says, I
Yeah,
can't
you'll be
swim,
right
you're going to
there.
go out there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Excellent.
it's covered by the business, right?
All right.
I think there will be okay. All right.
So whether it's boating, kayaking, or jet skis, again, they're all on water. Life jackets are a must, okay? Make sure that they are Coast Guard approved and that they fit properly, especially for kids. It's easy for someone to slip out of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So make sure they're snug on you so that if you are in the water and you have difficulty swimming, that they're going to stay on your body.
Right. And you need to be wearing the life jacket for it to do any good.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, before you even start up that jet ski, everybody on board should know how to stop it, what to do if somebody falls off, how to signal the driver to slow down, and always respect no wake zones and wildlife areas.
And as Ron had said earlier, just a reminder, alcohol and water sports do not mix. Impaired boating or water skiing or kayaking or jet skiing, all those things are just as dangerous as impaired driving.
True.
Yeah. So now we get to move on to one of my favorites, food.
Okay.
So now we're going to talk about food safety. Barbecues and picnics are great, but bacteria love the warm weather too.
Keep the keep the cold food cold and the hot food hot. That's like a tongue twister. Don't let perishable items sit out for more than 2 hours.
What kind of items?
Perishable.
Perishable?
Perishable. Those, the ones that die, they perish. Don't let them sit out for more than 2 hours, or reduce that to 1 hour if it's over 90 degrees out. And if you're in Arizona, you could just put anything outdoors because it'll cook.
Okay. But seriously, folks, things need to be colder than 40 degrees, so under 40 degrees Fahrenheit, or hotter than 140 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay. So use coolers with plenty of ice and keep them in the shade.
And don't cross-contaminate. Use separate plates and utensils for raw or uncooked meats. And make sure you are washing your hands often. And yes, that includes after handling, like raw burgers and before touching any communal things or anything that you're going to be putting directly into your mouth, like chips.
Yeah, you go to a barbecue. Do you see any of this happening?
When we've done a barbecue, yes.
Well, yeah, it's because you're a food safety person.
Yeah.
Now, here's my biggest problem.
We're gonna rent her out.
No. Again, I don't know.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
We're going to hire you to splash water on people.
Yeah.
Yes,
Rent
and
Jean out to do the
Safety
barbecue
for food.
safety.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you could be water safety. And if all else fails, you'll put your dive suit on and go look for them.
Okay, that's horrifying.
Yes, it is. Moving on. So here's my biggest problem. I'll be honest with you guys. Leftovers, okay? People don't like to throw out food, but when you have barbecues or when you have parties, there's a lot of leftover food, so you throw it in the refrigerator. Well, if it's in there too long, it can cause problems. So if you're unsure about anything that's left over, just be smart about it and throw it out. When in doubt, just get it out of the fridge. That way, you avoid the risk of getting sick.
All right. Well, before we go, we want to touch on something that's also important. Childhood sports safety. Summer is the season for baseball, soccer, flag football, cheerleading, lacrosse, track meets, you name it. It's a great time for kids to stay active, but there are definitely risks to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Hydration, and heat safety still apply here. The practices and games, they can run long, and kids, they may not realize just how dehydrated they're getting until they're actually lightheaded or even cramping up.
Yep.
And also remember that protective gear is non-negotiable. You need to use it. Every sport has its own requirements or required equipment, and it needs to fit properly or it won't do its job. And that means helmets for baseball or softball, mouth guards for football and soccer, shin guards, pads, whatever the sport calls for. Make sure that your child has the proper safety equipment and that it fits and that they are actually using it.
Is that something that the teams provide to the kids, or
No,
do the
usually
parents
they have to pay for it, which is, you're paying for the sport and you're paying for the equipment, and then you're keeping the equipment clean and you're lugging it around. So I don't. That's what a lot of schools will have like fundraisers for, because
Okay.
it's a big expense for all the parents to undertake. If it does seem like it's a hardship, maybe look into doing fundraisers for your school team,
or go to places that sell resale?
or play it again.
Yeah, play it again, or those type
resale
of places.
sports equipment, but just make sure that it fits properly.
Yeah. Okay. And don't skimp on the warm-ups and cool-downs. Stretching and conditioning aren't just about performance. They help prevent pulled muscles, joint issues, and even overuse injuries like shin splints or tendinitis.
Right. And speaking of overuse, watch out for repetitive motion injuries. If your child is pitching a ton of innings or practicing kicks every day, their joints and tendons need time to rest. The growth plates, which are still developing, if you push them too hard and too often, that can actually cause long-term damage to their bodies.
Exactly. And listen, concussions are not limited to football.
Yep.
They can happen in soccer, basketball, biking, skateboarding, just about any sport where there's a risk of an impact to the head. So if your child takes a hit to the head and shows signs like of a concussion or signs like confusion, dizziness, nausea, balance problems, or if you're at all concerned, about it, then take them out and take them to get evaluated by a healthcare provider.
Let's also remember not every injury is physical. Mental pressure and burnout are very real. Kids should feel encouraged and supported, not pushed to play through the pain or shame over a bad game.
Oh, that can be a completely different episode that we do on coaching. But staying with what we're doing now, make sure that all the coaches are trained in basic first aid and CPR. And ideally, they should know how to at least recognize heat stroke and concussions. As a parent, you can ask the league what policies that they have in place to monitor this.
And a lot of, areas where I know I've seen this at like Little League, baseball areas where they have multiple games going at the same time, they'll have an AED as well. So you want to make sure that you know where that is in case, because a hit to the chest at the wrong time can cause an issue. You want to make sure
One thing I want to add to the AED, it's great to have them.
But you need to know how to use it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So not everybody, obviously, if you're at an event where they have like multiple fields, but there should always be a number of staff members that are at the fields that are available. They should be trained so that there's always somebody around that if the need arises to use one, there's somebody who is trained in how to use it.
Right. Okay. And if your child says that they're in pain, believe them. It's better to rest a few days than to risk a season-ending or lifelong injury. Long-term health should always win over short-term victories.
Same thing goes with lightning. There's always a lightning detector in the area of these ball fields.
Should be.
Okay, there should be.
Right.
If there's not,
Right.
you can use your phone apps to...
Or you could use your common sense. If you hear thunder, that's often accompanied
Or
by
you could
lightning.
call Lita.
Sometimes...
Again, we'll list her phone number at the end. But yeah, lightning is a real danger for any outdoor sport.
Yes. And don't hide under a tree.
No. Yeah, get inside to a building or a vehicle. And again, it's not worth it to be out there and playing through that thunder and storm. You know, safety comes first.
Yes.
No, there's a lot of good tips in there. But for this episode, that pretty much wraps it up.
Okay.
Please note that this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment, and before undertaking any new healthcare regime. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast.
Thank you for joining us for this episode on summer health and safety.
Stay safe, stay hydrated, and enjoy the sunshine responsibly.
Till next week.